Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you so much, Miss Battle. We're super excited to be here and just super excited to bring some new information to you guys. So I'd love to first start off by bringing up our panelists and come up and have a seat, get comfortable. Okay, awesome. Okay, so before we dive into things, I'd just like for our panelists to briefly introduce themselves.
Thank you. All right, no problem. Test. Test 1, 2. There we go. Well, hello. My name is Adelia Johnson, and I am an Atlanta native. And I graduated from Clark Atlanta University twice with my bachelor's in English, my master's in social work, and I currently serve as a social work coordinator where I help supervise 70 plus social workers. And I'm also a licensed therapist and a youth mental health first aid instructor, and I love long walks on the beach.
Hey y'all, can y'all hear me? Okay. Hey y'all, I'm also a student here. I'm a neuroscience major. I'm Lauren Smith. I'm interested in mental health and also obviously relational and dating safety. And I'm glad to be here with you all today.
Who do you work for?
Oh, I work for public safety.
Good afternoon. My name is McKinney Austin, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I am also the director of the Wellness Center here at Agnus College.
Nice. Thank you guys. Thank you. I'm so happy to have you guys. We have a phenomenal panel. Just to give you guys a little bit more background about Hunting for Answers. We are an advocacy and media initiative, and so through our true crime podcast, we do cover the stories of missing and murdered women, and then through our campus tour, we really kind of bring the conversations into reality and talk about some of those things like dating literacy, relational awareness, and online safety. So, of course, our mission, it goes far beyond just the crime. We really like to focus on things like prevention, awareness, and just how we can better protect ourselves and one another. So, by show of hands, who's ever even heard the term relational awareness? Well, okay, I'm super excited to bring some fresh perspectives to you guys and really dive into some of these things. All right, so to kick things off, I'd like to start with you, McKinney, since we are talking about safety on campus. Safety is something that students hear about often on college campuses, but that doesn't always mean that people feel prepared in real situations. So from your experience working directly with students, where do you see gaps in how we're thinking about safety, and what does it actually look like for students to be safe and take an active role in each other's safety?
I would say one of the biggest gaps that I see is that students think that something has to be a big enough problem before they do something about it. And so often they're waiting for something to happen, and they worry about overreacting to something versus just saying, this doesn't feel okay to me. And so we do a lot of work around giving them permission to say, hey, when it doesn't feel okay, you can say that and speak up. But that's one of the things that I see is that they feel like it's not a big deal yet.
Thank you for sharing. We have an episode right here with Cambria Toomer, a young woman, and in that episode, it really does kind of dive into some of those things that you mentioned. Let me just skedaddle on over here. Some of the things you mentioned about how things might not seem like a big deal in the beginning, but these are the little things that we really need to be paying attention to.
Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio. Welcome to Hunting for Answers, a true crime podcast. I'm your host, Hunter, and today we're sharing the story of a young mother who vanished on August 15th, 2022 from Albany, Georgia. The last person known to have seen her was her boyfriend and the father of her child. He would later tell police a story that investigators say wasn't true. More than 3 years later, she has not been found, and her mother is still searching for answers. She joins us to share who her daughter was, what led up to her disappearance, and what she believes happened in the days and months after she went missing. This is the story of Lacambria Toomer.
Lacambria's story. I had the opportunity to talk with her mother, and it's really a sad situation because she's still trying to, get justice for her daughter. But the young man, her boyfriend, they had a relationship spanning since high school. So this was someone who she knew for a long time. Her family, her mother knew his mother and things of that nature. So this wasn't a stranger. This was someone who she really did trust. Adelia, in your work with clients, what are one or two early warning signs that a relationship may be becoming unhealthy or unsafe, especially the ones that people tend to overlook? And why can those dynamics sometimes feel normal or even romantic at first?
Thank you so much for that question. I would start with love bombing. And I would like to start with that because initially it feels amazing to have so much attention on you, right? It feels great to receive gifts and all this love and all this attention. However, receiving those things too early can sometimes lead up to manipulation and control. And so when you receive gifts and you're fascinated really and enamored by these things, then that's used kind of like a bait, if you will. The reason why, and one other thing I will also say is checking in. Like, I want to know where you are because I care. I want to know that you're safe. So there are certain things that, certain verbiage that people will use to act like they care about you, but it's really to control you, manipulate you. And sometimes, to be honest, it's a more sinister motive in mind. And so the reason why sometimes these things feel normal is because if you experience any type of trauma, or if you may have grew up without a parent, then it could be very possible that just the desire to have that rejection is typically the root of that, where you think that may be normal, where you think that may be okay. If no one has ever really cared for you, if no one has ever really showed you that they loved you, then that can seem very normal to someone that may have been starved of love and attention, or if someone has grown up with negative attention their whole life. And so that's why sometimes that feels normal.
Thank you. And I'm curious how that's showing up among students right now. So Lauren, you are a current student here at Agnus. What are some of the trends or patterns that you and your peers are noticing when it comes to dating, relationships, or safety on campus?
I will say most of the relationships probably are online relationships because it is a small campus and it's majorly a women's campus. This is Atlanta. There's a lot of colleges that are just right here. So when you're going online finding someone, it's Georgia State, Tech, this, that. And it's the same with love bombing. All of it is very quick. It's very going through a lot of people and sharing way too much very quickly. Mm-hmm. And sharing maybe too much about yourself, and then it kind of blows up in your face. So I feel like that happens a lot with students here where they share that, oh, they're so in love, oh, they found somebody, oh, I'm talking about them all the time, that's all we talk about, and then now we're hurt.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So let's dive a little bit more into that and look at some of the national data and the numbers behind some of these things. So according to national data, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men will experience sexual assault during college. And at HBCUs, 14% of female undergraduates will report either completed or near completed assault. So as you can see, this is an area where a lot of campuses and students nationwide have found themselves vulnerable. So that's why it's really important to have open dialogue about these things and create the open space. Let's see. I would like to ask McKinney, based on your experience in college settings, what cultural or social norms, both on and off campus, do you see contributing to some of these patterns?
That's a good question. There are so many things. I mean, one of the things that I think about when I think about just this age and stage of development is in this generation is how much their relationships are developed outside of the context of getting to know someone in person. And when you are learning someone outside of that context, when you're meeting someone digitally and online, you get a curated version, or you can get a curated version of that person. And they have time to present what they want you to see versus who they actually are. And so it's harder to tell if who they are, their motives and intentions match what they're saying. And so I think about culturally, just generationally, the difference in how they're meeting people and how they're connecting makes a difference in how their relationships develop. And in this stage of development, one of the things that can be difficult is that you're still getting to learn and understand who you are as a person. And so it can be hard to share with someone else when you're still learning and discovering who you are as a person. And the same for people if you're getting to know someone who's in that same stage of development. And so sometimes that can make it the connection difficult because I don't know exactly who I am or what I'm looking for. And so I don't always know how to recognize in someone else what I'm looking for. And so there's so many different things that are at play at this stage for them.
Yes. So next, I'd like to highlight some of the shared vulnerabilities between both cisgender and Black trans women because both face violence that is often overlooked and underreported. And so a lot of it comes down to many factors and things like systemic bias, law enforcement, factors like age and identity. They all play a role in the way society responds. And it shouldn't, but it does. And so that's why it's important to really bring awareness because that's the first step to truly understanding each other's realities. Next up, I would love for everyone in the room to just ask yourself, what comes to mind when you hear phrases like relational awareness or dating literacy? And feel free, just shout out whatever may come to your mind. Anyone?
I think both phrases sound like something scary that you wouldn't want associated with something that you think it's fun and enjoyable like dating. It like puts a scare on the thing that you like, no, that's just supposed to be a fun, happy, cool thing.
Yeah. Very good. Anything else? Anyone else? Well, Lauren, building on what we just heard, what do these ideas actually look like in real life for students right now?
About relational
Awareness and dating literacy.
I will say right now, people don't really know how to navigate a relationship. It's very hard when you're in college. So, especially time management, you're usually putting too much on a relationship instead of focusing on yourself. And you're losing yourself in a relationship, I would say, because you have so many things on your mind all the time. It's always like school, class, exam, project. Oh, I gotta text this person. And I have to text this person. I have to update them on how much I like them. I have to update them on how much I love them right now. I have to update them on what I'm eating for lunch. And it's really not that important, but it gets so like lost in what we're doing all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We've been discussing a lot of this, naming a lot of this, so let's put some language to it. So, relational awareness is the ability to recognize and understand the dynamics in our everyday relationships. So, not just dating, but friendships, classmates, teammates, and peers. It means understanding boundaries, communication patterns, power dynamics, and recognizing when something feels off. Dating literacy is a bit more specific. It focuses on romantic relationships. It's the knowledge and skills needed to build healthy dating relationships, including understanding consent in real time, identifying red flags, setting boundaries, communicating clearly, and recognizing manipulation or coercion before harm escalates. So, what does all of this look like in practice? Up on the screen, we have some tips for dating safety on campus. One of the first ones is, in my opinion, super important, and that's to know your non-negotiables or boundaries, and also to pay attention to both behavior and words, because as I think it was McKinney mentioned, people can say one thing and do another, and things can get super confusing sometimes when navigating relationships, both platonic, and romantic relationships. So, Adelia, we often hear that setting boundaries is important, but it can feel difficult in real life. What does healthy boundary setting look like early on, and what is one realistic first step someone can take?
I would say that healthy boundaries look like um, it's like a line in the sand, right? It's not budging from that line. Firm boundaries give people limited access to you. It really protects you. And so it's important to be firm with your boundary lines, because if you move the line one time, they're going to think that they can continue to move it. And so then even if you move that one time, you move it two times, and now your safety is compromised, because in whoever that person is that challenges your boundaries, they think that now, okay, well, I have room for manipulation, wiggle room, right? And so the reason why it is so important to set healthy boundaries, and what does that look like, and how can you start, is number one, of course, you're learning yourself. So knowing yourself and knowing who you are and not compromising with that. And so honestly, is writing that down and reminding yourself, because it is very easy when you're dating to forget who you are. You can get so wrapped up and so enamored with the person that you're with that you will look in the mirror, it'll be 10 years later, and you have completely lost sight of who you are. And so I think one of our amazing panelists has said something earlier about feeling as though you may not want to ruffle any feathers, or you may not want to run somebody off, so you overshare, and you overshare information to keep them close. However, oversharing sometimes gives people intel about you, and it gives them information on how to violate your boundaries. And because we're talking about safety, we have to understand the motive and the intent of people. And so I would just write down a list of your non-negotiables. When you run across it, don't question it. Well, maybe this person will, change. Maybe I can make them better. All of these questions that go inside of our head that we think that we can influence that person. It is wise to just know your non-negotiables, stick to them, and when you run across them, either back up, or you can, listen and get to know that person better. But I would say to start today would be to write down a list of your non-negotiables right now and assess your current relationships. If you have noticed or realized that anyone that you're dealing with currently have violated those boundaries and they're continuing to make you push your line back, then I would question that relationship. Whether or not you need to pause it, whether or not you need to continue with it, whether or not you just need to abort mission.
Thank you. Oh, did anyone have anything to add? No? Oh. So now we're going to move along to some reminders for navigating the online spaces. We've definitely touched on this quite a bit today. So let's dive in just a little bit further. So of course, there's things that we want to remember, like avoiding to move to text too quickly. We want to be verifying identity, keeping personal information private, and of course, reporting any threatening or coercive behavior immediately. I'd love to know from Lauren, what does feeling safe in relationships or social spaces look like to you and your peers right now?
I think the most important part about feeling safe in a relationship, especially to Scotties, is if you can't be yourself. Especially what you said about knowing yourself. If you can't feel comfortable and you feel like you need to put on a facade, or you feel like you're keeping yourself too close in when you're with somebody, it's probably not the safest relationship to be in. And it really is hard to have that introspection to look at yourself and know yourself. But usually someone else will do it for you. Like if you have good friends, they'll usually let you know, hey, with this person, you kind of being a little fake. Like, I don't know, maybe you're kind of acting kind of weird. You know, you're not really hanging out with us. Like, what's going on? Like, people will let you know if you can't do it yourself, and you should listen to those closest to you.
Yes, for sure. And recognizing when things start to shift, like you said, I think that's really key. So now let's touch on some of the red flags in digital spaces. So, Adelia, how can students recognize when behaviors like love bombing, which you mentioned earlier, the love bombing, ghosting, or avoiding video calls or safe in-person meetings crosses the line from normal dating challenges into manipulation?
I will say, like, say for instance, the person that you may be talking to, if you met them online or something like that, and you all are talking consistently on a regular basis, and then you may do something or say something because you're still online, but say something that they don't like, and then they ghost you for about a week or so, and then they come back into the picture, and you're like, where did you go? And they say, well, I didn't like when you whatever. That is used to coerce and control. And so people will sometimes use ghosting as a form of manipulation. So they'll come in real hard, give you all of the attention, feel like they're giving you the world, and then all of a sudden they ghost you, and then they come back in the picture and they're like, hey, I don't like when you did that, and flip the situation on you, even if they were wrong, or even if they were, or even if, again, right, they violated your boundary. The same goes for in person. If you're texting or calling and you all are going out real heavy and hanging out real heavy, and then all of a sudden is complete radio silence. And then when they do engage you, it's back to, well, I don't like how you corrected me on this, or I don't like how you said this. It's always about what you did. And it's always about challenging your character and challenging who you are. And it quietly breaks you down. It's psychological. And so it quietly makes you question yourself and question who you are, and question whether or not you're doing the right thing. Did I set the right boundary? I don't want to push this person away. And so you have to be very careful, because a lot of these things start here. If you can get someone here, then you can kind of capture and conquer everything else. And I'll say this in closing, is very similar to women that are, or even men that are in domestic violence situations. And people sometimes don't understand, why don't they just leave? Why don't they just leave? Well, it's not that easy, because once you have manipulated them and coerced them and created this idea in their head that they need you, and no one else is going to help you, and you should feel embarrassed or ashamed because of your situation and circumstance, it's not so easy to leave. And then you're conflicted because you love the person that is causing the pain. And so that causes for some real introspection and some self-reflection, if you will. Oh, sorry.
So now let's just slide into some key takeaways from the discussion. Of course, we want to be mindful of recognizing healthy relationships and noticing warning signs that might pop up along the way. We want to be sure to navigate these digital spaces safely, and then also just overall encouraging ourselves and each other to be proactive and supportive in our safety. Makini, what is one practical step that students can take this week to start building healthier relationship habits? And if something feels off or unsafe, where should they go or who should they turn to?
The idea of knowing what your boundaries are, your yeses and your nos. And I feel the need to also state that sometimes things that can become unhealthy, they don't start off and the person doesn't even have nefarious intentions. It can be the way that we start showing up, both of us, like that relational awareness. Am I aware how I'm showing up? Am I aware how you're showing up in the relationship? And so it can start off and the person actually has genuine intentions and they're trying to get to know you. But again, at this stage of development, people are not always relationally aware yet. It's a process that they're learning. And so you might not recognize the red signs or the red flags because it's the person just trying to do the best that they can, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily healthy or keep it from being negative. And so that's why it's important to have your own boundaries and to be able to say, this is not okay for me. Because if you keep letting someone cross the boundary, then they don't actually recognize that they've done something that feels uncomfortable to you or that feels inappropriate to you. And so the idea of knowing what your yeses and your nos are and feeling comfortable sharing that and saying that is very important.
Thank you. So as we close, I'd actually love for each of you to share one thing that you hope students take with them from this conversation.
You can go first, I'm sorry.
What do I hope they take? That the importance of, I think the first thing that I said is that it doesn't have to be problematic or be a big problem before you do something about it, before you talk about it or share. If you have a concern or if it feels uncomfortable, you can say something at any time.
I would say just know yourself and know your boundaries always. And if you feel like someone's overcrossed that, maybe it's best to just cut them off or give a break to kind of get back to what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with somebody, you don't have to change yourself to be comfortable with them. Know what you need to do to be safe always.
I would say, so the same way that literacy means knowing how to read, relational literacy is knowing how to read what's happening in the relationship. And so sometimes we do start off relationally illiterate. We can't read the signs, and that can be frustrating. And so I just want to encourage you to, number one, be patient with yourself. Number two, understand that you're learning how to read relationships. It is a process. It's something that you have to learn. It's just not something that just happens. It's trial and error. And so, number one, give yourself grace as you're learning this process. Number two, date safely. And I would have a list of safe people that you have around you that you can tell if something is going on. When you go out, tell them who you're going out with. Send them a picture of them. I send tag numbers and licenses if I can, but it's that serious because if you're going to be with somebody, then somebody else needs to know. And it's important to kind of have your safe list on you because if you're in the midst of a crisis or your mind is just kind of frazzled, it's going to be hard to think. Who can I call? Who can I call? Who can I call? And then because if you feel overwhelmed, you may feel like you can't call anybody. But I would just have pocketed your safe people in your life. I would have your emergencies. I don't know if you all know, but if you have an iPhone, you can click the side of your iPhone 5 times and it'll alert your emergency contacts. So if you ever feel like you're in danger or anything like that, then I will also keep your emergency contacts updated in your phone. And the last thing that I will say is share your location with the people that you trust and you love. And then I'll just wrap up with, it was one other thing I was going to say. Yeah, just make sure that you keep a list of your safe people so that you can, and know your public safety number. That's what I was going to say. Make sure you know the number to public safety, the number to your mental health experts on your campus so that you can quickly access help if you need it.
Thank you. And then here we have some additional resources. So please feel free, take a photo, save it for yourself, or share it with a family member or friend. And just know that help and resources are available for you and that you are not alone. And then lastly, did everyone who needed to take a photo take a photo? I think we're good. Okay. And then lastly, remember to keep connected with us. You can listen to Hunting for Answers on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We have stories that we highlight every day, so you can tune in and listen to some of these stories. And then also follow us on social media at Hunting for Answers, where you can keep connected on stories and updates, as well as more things we have coming down the line with the tour. Other than that, thank you everyone for coming out, and thank you lovely panelists. Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network. For more podcasts from the Black Effect Podcast Network, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.